Let me just start by encouraging you. I think, first of all, when we think of planning, often it's not that motivating. We think of something dry, businessy, that the end product will be a book that no one will read, that it'll take a lot of time, and that the plan will just sit on a shelf and nothing much will happen. That's the kind of image many of us actually have of planning, including myself. I remember when I was younger. So what we're trying to develop is a planning that's agile, especially in this time of COVID. A planning that's light on its feet, that can be flexible, that can adjust, that can make changes, that can excite and that can motivate both lay colleagues and Jesuits, Christians and non-Christians, young people and older people. That's what we're trying to create here and help provinces to create here from the Curia. So I hope what I say will be helpful. A couple of steps that are important for planning. One is gratitude. And you've done this, I think, in the province examen that you've done. Gratitude for what the Lord has been doing in all these years, right up to now, through the Jesuit presence in your province. Just gratitude. Where has the Lord been working in me? Where has the Lord been working in my history? Where was the Lord working in this community? Superiors can do this in your community. Or in the apostolic work, a director of work can lead a process. Or in the province, where has the Lord been working? Just that question, so simple. And that's the starting point. So instead of starting with, what should I do? What should I do? We're not doing enough, which makes you feel guilty, you start with gratitude. Just the Lord has worked in me with all my faults and failings and problems and limitations. And He continues to work in me. And here we are together, frail people, limited people, diverse people from different backgrounds, but we are trying to serve the mission of reconciliation and justice, and we're trying to be companions of the Lord. So gratitude, it's such a simple thing. It's the heart of the examen. It's so Ignatian. It's so important. I think St. Ignatius said that ingratitude is the worst sin. Being human, we always see what's wrong. It's kind of a human tendency. That's why the examen corrects us and says, no, recognize God's action in your day, in the simple, small things. So important. So that's something for superiors and directors of works and individual Jesuits to think about and pray about. And the second thing, the second little hint is vision. I've given some workshops on the preferences. And instead of starting from, here's the preferences coming from Rome, a mission from the Pope, no, we start with the vision of the individual Jesuits. Why do you feel called in the society? Retrace the history of your vocation. Why did you join the Jesuits? Or if you're a lay person watching this, what's attractive about the mission of the society? Why did you become linked to us? Maybe it was for economic reasons, or maybe you felt a deep desire to bring about change, or to bring faith, or depth. So in communities or works, I found it really helpful to have a process where people are asked, why did you become a Jesuit, if it's a community? Or in a work, why are you part of this work? What links with your deepest passions? And to share on that, and you discover things about your fellow Jesuits or your friends in the apostolate. You discover things you've missed over all these years. So, vision. Why am I a Jesuit? For me, it was so important when I was a 17-year-old in school, and I had a strong experience at a Eucharist, actually, just before Holy Week. And I had a sense of being touched by God, and a desire, I want to help people find God in their lives. And that has stayed with me. It has brought me through all sorts of ups and downs in my life, different challenges. But that's why I wanted to be a Jesuit, and I keep touching back to that, to the roots of my own vocation. And I share that with others. And so when I accompany people in spiritual direction, or when I'm doing this work in the Curia in planning and discernment, it's so important, so important. Then moving on to the planning process, I think, again, this is actually not that difficult. A couple of things. If a province is doing a planning process, start with gratitude, as I've said. Get the Jesuits and the lay people in touch with vision, with their passion. And you'll be amazed to find that the passion and the vision of the Jesuits and the lay people, actually, it coincides or it aligns almost perfectly with the preferences. Really. We believe in the Holy Spirit. We say this all the time. But we do believe that the Spirit is working in my heart and in your heart, in the Holy Father, in the General, in the Society of Jesus. So these preferences aren't something coming from above. They are that, of course, also, but they're coming from something deep inside ourselves. And the more we can claim that, the more energy and vision will be released to move forward and do something. Implementation, it's important, of course, but implementation comes from a sense of, yes, this really is what I want to do. Not just a message from Rome, it connects with why I'm a Jesuit. It connects with why I want to work with the Jesuits. It's why I'm a companion in mission, a partner in mission. So that's another important point. Let me run briefly now and quickly through the planning process. It starts obviously with a look at the context, the external context, the country, Indonesia, the differences, what are the challenges, what's going on there, who's calling out to us. So the external context. The second part is the internal context, the Society of Jesus. What are our strengths, our resources, our financial situation, our vocations, and what are our weaknesses? That internal context. We often use a SWOT analysis. You know that thing, it's a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You can find it on the internet. It's a good way of doing an analysis both of the external and the internal context. And then you can get a commission to look at those two things and draw up a document, not too long, send it to communities. And then you pray. You ask the Holy Spirit, please guide us in looking at priorities. Because we can't do everything in this context with these limited resources. It's just a fact. We can't. So we have to choose. And a trap sometimes is that instead of defining priorities, you get a plan that it describes all the things we're doing. But that's not good enough to move forward. You need priorities that help you choose. And that's the tricky part and the painful part. And that's why the foundation in gratitude is so important. And when you've chosen the priorities, then it's the time to choose activities. So if a priority is working with disadvantaged young people, well then you need to say, well, we need to open a small school here, or we need to collaborate with a group of sisters who are doing something, or we need to ensure that our men in formation have a feel for this kind of education. Or if it's migrants, if that's a priority, well then we need to have some structures or some people trained in this area, some special formation. So priorities, activities, and then resources. If this small school is going to be an activity, it'll need some money. Where will we get the money? Will it be self-funding? Will it be from a donor? Does the province have resources? That's a very important column, the resources column. And then lastly, the issue of time frame. It's very important that if we're going to open this small school for disadvantaged youth, when is that going to happen? Do you have some idea of a time frame? It's quite demoralizing if priorities are chosen and activities are looked at, but there's no time frame given, and it'll happen sometime. That's quite demoralizing. So I'll put all this on a separate email or some slides perhaps, and you'll be able to see it all in a summary. But the main thing is to encourage you. Start with gratitude, move through the process, set an end date that's realistic, leave time for people to pray and talk and think and to share. Use spiritual conversation, a key tool that we discovered. There's a separate video on that. And trust that the Holy Spirit is acting in the hearts of everybody, moving us forward and moving the province forward. Thank you so much.